hat on.
Hello, Jace.
Just because.
Hello.
Just because.
Hello and welcome to ABW Radio Live. You can tell it's live because Jace was indeed just putting his hat on. I am your host, Kris, and thank you all for joining us. I have lost my voice a little bit due to last night's events, so apologies in advance, but nevertheless, here we are. And I'm joined this evening by Mr. Josh and Mr. Jason. Good evening to you both.
Good evening, my fellow redheads.
Fuck off, Danny.
Indeed. I was just going to say, my very first message straight away goes out to one Daniel in the chat box. You know who you are, fat, bold, miserable shit. Things take time, Daniel. We have lives. We have to take our time before we get these shows on the road. Honestly, he doesn't pay us enough for this, does he, boys? Let's be honest. Right. Stoke City 1, Arsenal 4. Don't think many people predicted that. I'll be interested to see. I know Mr. Collins had 5-0 because he's just gone full rogue on predictions, so he just doesn't care anymore. So we're going to just go into it and break down the game. Danny's Four-eyed hippie minge. Have you seen your face, Danny?
Which one's
Seriously.
he talking to?
That's a very good question, Josh. I could take offence. Anyone could take offence for that. Right, let's get some initial thoughts then. So, trip to Mordor and smashing the Goonies. Josh, what did you think of it?
I thought it was great. You can't do anything better than smash Stoke. We haven't done it in a while. I think the last time we did it is when Ramsey got dealt that devastating injury, and it had everything you'd want from a Stoke game. I think we absolutely battered them, got away with a couple of decisions, and to add all of it on, Bob Holding came in and showed some vengeance, which was nice for Debussy on Arnautovic. So I think overall it was a great day for Arsenal.
When you say Arnautovic, could you refer to him as he should be referred to as charity shop Zlatan?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Lidl Zlatan.
Lidl Zlatan. That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that. Right. Okay. Jace, what did you make of it? I mean, it's an away trip. We quote unquote had to win, and we didn't just win. We rolled them over, didn't we? I know Stoke have been poor the last few weeks, but they weren't just bad. We outplayed them today, didn't we?
Yeah, and Vigor seems to be on this little kick of breaking his duck against people. So it was a good day. We needed it. I think they looked terrible, and I think we took advantage of it. So yeah, it was definitely a good 3 points. Anytime that you can go, they were supposed to do their lap of honor today, and I think somebody put it on Twitter that they literally got to do their lap of honor for tens of fans, because I think even by the 85th minute, over 3/4 of the stadium had left. To go back into their caves, because the sunlight hurts them and it hurts their eyes. So yeah, no, it was really, really good all around. I went in obviously predicting something pretty close. I thought it was going to be 2-0, and I thought it was going to be obviously a scrappy affair, which it was still scrappy. But anytime you can get 4 goals in a scrappy affair and only concede one bullshit goal that I'm sure we'll come to, just as a heads up, today's going to be pretty sweary, just because we're playing that lot. So. But yeah, no, yeah, good day all around. Great to see the goal scores. I'm sure we'll come to that, so I'm not going to get into the Giroud business quite yet. But really, really good to see who was on the score sheet. Good to see sort of the mood all around of the team as well, and good to see that we had when the game goes sideways a bit, we still had some fight even after that. When it could have continued to go sideways, we were able to pull it back in. So it's good to see that sort of mental. The famed mental strength there for us in a place that's recently been a really, really bad place for us to go and play at. So really, really pleased all around. And let's just I think it was Petito 100 said that we really need Lanzini to come up big for us tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll all be cheering on the old Irons tomorrow, because would be great to see if we can't go ahead and secure this up as early as we can.
Yes, indeed. And on the swearing theme, children, shut your ears. If you come from Stoke, probably shouldn't, because it's weird. If you come from Stoke and you booed Aaron Ramsey when he came onto the pitch, go fuck yourselves. Okay? Now we've got that one out of the way. Josh, let's talk about the lineup then. So we saw Mustafi come back into the lineup today. Well, actually, no, he played in the midweek. Sorry, saw Koscielny return. That's what I meant to say. With Mustafi into the lineup today, and of course Rob Holding, as I like to call him now, which we'll come on to him in a second. But that back three, and then we had what we I think we all agreed on Southampton show. We wanted to see the Bellerin Monreal axis either side. It worked rather well, didn't it? Having those or that five, if you will, as a back five. It did seem to work pretty well, albeit against a limited Stoke attack at times.
Yeah, I think the four of them certainly had a very, very good game. I would question Bellerin's performance in the early part of the game. I don't think Arsene Wenger had really thought that Bellerin would be playing as many minutes as it appears he'll now have to play for the run-up at the end of the season, because we all know that the guy needs surgery and he's just really not doing well at the moment. Obviously, he made a lot of good movements today in this game and, you know, set up the first goal. But overall, I think he didn't have a great game. But you could see that there were a lot of players on the field, I think, in the opening parts of it that looked a bit dodgy.
Yeah. Bellerin's he looks like like you say, he looks like a player who's sort of doing a job, but is still not quite 100% right. But he still had his plus points today, which we'll certainly come on to when we talk about the goals. And Jace, obviously, we don't want to talk too much about individuals at this stage because we'll come on to those in a minute. But the sort of midfield axis as well. We saw Coquelin come back in today. We'll talk about him in a minute, and obviously Xhaka continuing his decent form of late. And despite some people thinking that Giroud is not the player we want and need and all this jazz, again, we'll talk about him in a minute. But the whole axis between the sort of the two players in behind the striker and the two in behind them, it seemed to work quite well today, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. I was anytime, and the guy's come under a lot of stick from a majority of the fan base recently, and some people said he doesn't, that he doesn't. If he wasn't getting the stick, he would play better. And I responded to, well, if he didn't play so poorly, he probably wouldn't get stick. But I think Coquelin really, especially in the first sort of 50 minutes of the match, was one of the better players on the pitch. It's hard to deny that. He was going forward, completing some passes, still on the ground a lot, which is quite funny and humorous, but he played really well. He set up Bellerin's goal very well. His positioning seemed to be a little bit smarter. So you're really happy, and when you have a player who is come under stick, but when he's having a good game like that, it sort of lifts everybody else, especially somebody who's had a rough time, and they sort of feed off of his energy. And I think Xhaka's distribution today was, especially his the sort of the diagonal balls were really, really good today out to the wings, and he was really sort of knocking it around really well. So that dynamic going forward, and I think they were doing a decent job of breaking up some of the counters that Stoke did have against us. And then they were obviously trying to find Sanchez especially more. I think the first 25-30 minutes of the game, Mesut was just invisible. I didn't realize he was on the pitch at one point. So really, really disappointing there. But it was really, really good to see those players coming back in and making an impact, and then Coquelin linking up with the attack so well and positioning himself well and being able to complete some passes, which was really, really nice to see. And you really happy that he's gone. And I will say, looks like Carpenter's internet's gone there, so I'm just going to keep carrying on. And I think Josh is back now. He might be muted at the moment. If only the internet was as reliable as some of the Arsenal players from time to time. There we go, Josh. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I went full Coquelin.
Yeah. So not today. You went full Ozil in the first 20 minutes, but just to sort of continue on here, I definitely think it was. Really nice to see those players combining in really good positions. I'm not quite sure you can all just say that that's down to to Stoke being bad, because we've seen teams that we've played this season that have been poor, and our players haven't performed up to their abilities. And I think today, especially Coquelin, performed out of his skin for a majority of the game, and it really lifted everybody in that midfield around him. And we were really able to sort of push on and take the impetus to a team that's, like I said, always given us a lot of issues, especially at their place.
I swear to God, I'm going to ring Sky and I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves. This fucking internet is dog shit. Seriously. Sorry, everybody. Fucking piece of shit.
Can't wait for the obligatory question from Danny to ask if you're on Ethernet or not.
I'm fucking what? I've got more fucking wires in here than they've got in the well, I don't know, in a fucking fuse box. It's ridiculous. What's going on? Anyway, Sky, you'll be getting a phone call later, cunts. Jace, everything you just said,
Yes.
I was absolutely 100% agree with it. Everything. I don't know what you said, but I'm sure it was absolutely spot on. Right. I presume you covered my question and then covered a little bit more on top of it. So
I extended and improvised as long as I could to get you back. But pretty much what I said was that Coquelin's dog shit, and any player from France should never be in this team again. So I know that you agree with that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
No, I just, their link up definitely. I think Ozil was probably a little invisible the first part of the game, but he grew into it, and Coquelin definitely played out of his skin. So that's I think that's pretty much the basis of what I said. I just took 5 minutes to say it when I saw you were gone.
Good, thank you. Well, if I go again, then one of you please continue as you will. Talk about the weather or something. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's get back on track. And no chat box. There's no amount of tea in China that would make me pay for Virgin bloody media. I know Sky are bad, but I'm not going to them. Anyway, welcome to ABW Ethernet Radio. Let's talk about a couple of other bits and bobs then. First, actually, one thing I do have to say very quickly, for those of you buggers in the chat room saying that I'm wearing fashion glasses, if I didn't have these on, I couldn't see my keyboard. All right, so they're not fashion; they are there because I can't see shit without them. And I got very sore eyes this morning. Right, let's move on then. Josh, start talking about some of the goals. Obviously, we got the goal. I was getting worried in the first half because we've been so dominant and we were so in control of the game that we hadn't scored. And I thought it was that sort of worry of, can you go in, with a goal and sort of get that territorial advantage that we certainly had in terms of play. And Olivier Giroud popped up 3 minutes before the interval with that goal. Fair to say he wasn't brilliant today. He didn't have his best game. But twofold question. One, what did you make of that first goal? The build-up, the pass from Coquelin to Bellerin, the cross, Giroud being in the right place at the right time, and also, what do you make of all this constant criticism about Giroud? Because it's funny, those people have gone very quiet all of a sudden.
So I thought before he'd scored his goal that I'd be able to reel out the old agenda about how much Giroud doesn't help us in the team. However, you have to kind of change that all around because, you can't knock a guy that scored a brace. But I think in the opening part of the game, he was doing an exceptionally good job. You could say outstanding on holding and occupying the Stoke's two centre-backs, because that's what you bring him in for fundamentally, is to do that job. And I think the rest of his game was a little bit dodgy up until he was getting the goals. But if you see, whilst Bellerin and Coquelin are doing their thing, playing the ball nicely around the edge of the area, look at the fight that Giroud's doing. It's Klitschko Joshua all over again to kind of get into that right position to put the ball in. And that's what we needed from him. Welbeck, Perez, Walcott, if you played them through the middle, they wouldn't have had a sniff. That's the only guy in our squad that can have a fight and take it to the centre-backs. This may be the only game of the season we play where we come up against centre-backs like that. Maybe West Brom as well. But that's why Giroud is so important to Arsenal Football Club, because we need someone like that. Is there someone else in world football that can take a fight to another player? Probably. Are they as good as Giroud though? Probably not. So overall, that's the kind of benefit we get from Giroud. And while we're cunting him off for other reasons across other games, these are the games he thrives in, and we just need to bring in other players to support him in those games where he doesn't flourish.
I agree. It's not so much that we're saying that he should be the first pick every week. I think we're all in agreement that we should have another centre forward available every week, or somebody of a higher caliber. But these people saying, "Oh yeah, cash in, take the money, and do what with it?" Come on, it's just such a lazy argument because he's not a fashionable player. I do understand some games are not suited to him. I was really surprised actually. A lot of people said that today's game wasn't suited to him at all. I was really surprised to see that.
I sent a tweet out because everybody goes, "Why do we play Walcott or Sanchez up top against teams that are going to sit back? We need Giroud." And then all of a sudden Giroud comes in today. Everybody's fucking moaning that Giroud's on, and I was like. It's the easy mob mentality of you're never content, and even when you argue for something and you get your way, people don't want to accept it then all of a sudden because that would mean that they would be content. And shut your face and accept what you've got. And minus some lack of movement up top that we had and some shit first touches because he's only played a few minutes recently. I think he had a decent game. He Walcotted it because he was absolutely invisible until he actually scored the goal and then he grew into the game. Which we've seen Walcott do quite often, but yeah, it does my head in, Chris. And obviously, I'm defending Giroud, of course, but it just does my head in that when he does finally get the game that people say he's suited for, people still moan like, "Shut the fuck up." If you feel that strongly, about it, buy a plane and fly a banner around the stadium.
No, don't even go there. Seriously, don't even go there. What else? These people, seriously, got nothing. Well, they need to take up porn. They obviously haven't ever lost their virginity, or I mean, do me a favor, Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're not going to talk about them because we're here to talk about football. Yeah, I mean, I agree on Giroud. I think it's just a really strange. I don't understand people that say, "Oh yeah, let's just sell Giroud." Bring in who? And I get even more confused about the people that say, "Oh yeah, sell Giroud and bring in Lacazette." It's a different type of player. It's a completely. Just to me, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just a really silly argument. But hey ho, and Florando Llorente is another striker. I don't think Swansea would swap him at Dayan. I don't see him racing around the pitch. So I know it's a bit of a weird example to use, but even Zlatan, he's not exactly mobile, is he? But without him, United would be 14th, which would be hilarious. Anyway, enough about Giroud for a minute. So obviously a good goal. Jace, the pass as well, the passing that led up to it, good overlap from Bellerin. That's the Bellerin that we want. I thought it was actually a very, very good pass from Coquelin, which again we'll probably touch on in a bit more detail in a minute. But slide rule ball right into the path of Bellerin. He didn't have to take a touch, just an early cross. And Giroud was where time after time we say, "Oh, we haven't got a poacher, a player who's in the 6-yard box to tuck it away." It's exactly where he was, and he took the chance. It's a good build-up, wasn't it?
No, it absolutely was, and the pass from Coquelin, which like you said, we'll hit on in a second, and then obviously Bellerin being that far forward just in the system, I'm not quite sure he would have been in that position had we been playing with 4 at the back. He may have been a little further up, and the same angle may not have been on, so the pass may not have been there. Had we been playing something differently. So a credit to that as well. And hitting it first time across the box, and then it's such an Olivier Giroud goal. That's if you look at that little cutback pass from the byline, that's where Giroud's made his sort of living. And we do have that player. It's just we don't always play that style of football. And while I don't necessarily think that Giroud's the best fit for this formation, he definitely has his uses from time to time. And today I think we saw that with a couple of goals, but specifically that first one was sort of archetypal Olivier, just being right there for the cutback, right where you needed it to be. And of course, some good shit defending and nobody marking him there right in the middle of the goal always helps as well. But he tends to get himself in those positions whenever that ball's there. So we definitely have to credit up for that, because it's, like I said, I can remember a couple of matches against Tottenham like that. There's I think some games against like West Ham where he's done that as well. Just put himself right there, almost right on top of the keeper. And there's nothing you can really do at that point from a defensive standpoint once that ball is good enough. And great to see Bellerin. I still think Bellerin should be shut down for the season, but since he's still playing, I do think that was a highlight for him today, obviously. because his speed is sort of taken away from him. But being able to put himself in the right position and get that ball in, we know how good he is at crossing. So really, really nice to see that from him. And yeah, it's a great goal to see all around. That's sort of some of the vintage stuff that I think we've been missing for a little while now.
Yeah, excellent, excellent points. Like you say, I think we all agree that Bellerin is excuse me, that went down the wrong way. I think we all agree that said the vicar to the schoolboy. I think we all agree that Bellerin is being kind of oh goodness me, nursed through the season. Crikey, this is what happens when I go out. It's dangerous. Excuse me. Right. But he's got an important part to play. Oh, goodness me. Right. Josh, take over for a minute, will you?
Right. Have we got through the first half? Let's go to the second one, because we've already spoken about Giroud. I think Ozil is now the man to speak about. So, Jace, how did you feel about Ozil and how overall he played? Because he got a goal. And I think overall he looked like he had an interesting game.
No, yeah, like I said, I think the first 20 to 25 minutes he was utterly invisible. I think he only had like a couple of touches, and they were not very good. And at one point, one of those touches was poor, and then they were like, "Oh, a poor touch from Ozil." And I was like, "Oh, he's playing today. Oh, well, that's nice. Good for him." So yeah, I think he was invisible the first part of the game. Somebody correct me in the chat box if I'm wrong on this. I think this is the first game he's ever played in his Arsenal career at Stoke.
It's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, which is about, you try not to necessarily protect players, but at the same time, but no, he grew into the game, and it was really good to see. Especially the goal that he took was exceptionally well taken. And of course, I'm sure we'll talk about the whole build up to that. But I think he grew into it, and I think the second half he was much more lively. He definitely tried to I think he's tried to play a few more balls sort of over the top and in the air more recently. And just talking with the friend Dan and one of our WhatsApp groups that it just seems really odd that he's trying to play a little more off the ground as opposed to keeping the ball on the ground. I think that may be where some of his quote unquote form, has not been on. But I actually think that he's just trying to find different ways to do what he's done before. I think he's trying to adapt his game when he might not necessarily need to do that. So I think he grew into the game, developed well. It's been really weird this whole year. He is not. I've always been a huge Mesut fan because the way he can sort of drag defenders out of space, and I'm not sure he's able to do that now, specifically with the way we've been playing this year. But he still has his moments, and he's got that one little spark in him that can just blow everything up. And I think we saw that today with the goal, and whether it's with a goal or an assist or with the way he just can keep possession and keep the ball in tight spaces, he's a player that even when he's out of form, I think you still have to choose him because he can always pull that rabbit out of the hat and create a little magic.
Do you think his invisibleness is coming from him having to take one for the team and being marked out of games? Because we've seen Alexis come to the forefront today.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure. You would think with him playing beside Alexis that they would defenses would actually have to think twice about trying to man mark both of them. That would leave a lot more space up front for people, or you'd have to drop people. That would create more space for other midfielders. But I don't think that's been the case. I think it's just he's had some issues trying to find his true role with how we're playing now. I think when he came in, everything was sort of through Giroud. Ramsey was having a great season that year. That's that we were very central there. That especially his first couple of seasons, and so I think he really established himself there and was able to link up with specifically Ramsey and Giroud very, very well those 2 years. I think we've sort of tweaked how we're playing, and we're much more wide. We're utilizing our fullbacks a lot more. To keep possession and not necessarily just to put crosses into the box, but to actually play the ball. And again, just my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but from what I'm seeing, and I think he's trying to figure out exactly where he fits in here. I don't quite know if he's being man marked out, because technically with where he's playing now, you would think that it would be harder to individually mark him with a certain defender. And it could be possible, but when we didn't have Sanchez, he had technically he had better stats when he was sort of the main guy, and they were man marking him more. I feel he was doing better. So I think it's more of just him adjusting to the way the players around him are playing, and I think he's having a slow time doing that. And I think obviously, you know, there's something mentally that hasn't been right this season, but I think he's starting to find that again and get back into a good spot mentally to help him push on the pitch.
So, excuse me. Hopefully I'm alive again now. For how long I don't know, but yes, it's good to see Mesut back on the score sheet, and Alexis's pass was sublime as well. And they obviously trust each other, those two. That's one thing that's crystal clear. And when you can get that sort of understanding on the pitch, the two class players link up, you get that sort of finish. And it was a lovely finish, by the way, as well. Really composed. Wasn't the easiest finish to take, so a very, very composed finish. And that's what you get from Mesut sometimes. It's just that he also goes walkies for periods. So yeah, delighted to see him notch. He seemed to rather enjoy it. Good photo on his Twitter, actually, if you haven't seen it. So let's go on then. At that stage, then, Josh, we were 2-0 up and cruising, and then we had a bit of a mad sort of 10, 12 minutes where Jasper Carrott, otherwise known to you and I as Mike Dean, decided that tackling was basically it was free for all. Yes, exactly. Anyway,
I will just say during that time, Mike Dean became a cunt's cunt. There's football players, footballers. There's managers who they're all their little niche areas. Diego Costa looks at Mike Dean and goes, "There's a proper cunt."
Yes, it was not good, and he basically just let everything go for a period of 10 minutes, including a completely blatant handball. Now, yeah, this is one of those, isn't it, that in real time, I'll completely hold my hands up. I didn't see it. I didn't think it was. I did laugh after the game where Sir Alan of Pardew, who was in the Sky Sports studio, he was chuckling away to himself, said, "Oh, that Peter Crouch, he's clever, is Crouchy." No, Alan, he's a fucking cheat. That's what he is. So let's just get that cleared now. But Josh, it was nevertheless, it should not have been allowed. But that crazy period of 10 minutes, we just seemed to lose everything. Didn't we? Just seemed to lose all composure, and it just all went out the window and resulted in Crouch nipping in front of our, nipping in front of the back four, or back three as it was, and guiding in that, albeit handball goal. But a bit of panic stations at that stage.
Yeah, I think that Arsenal were kind of caught up in the whole fact that a lot of things that were fouls weren't given. And that's generally what happens to Arsenal is, you know, if you kick them a bit, we are going to go back into our shell a little bit. And the fact that Mike Dean wasn't giving us anything in that whole period was just the players were a bit like too busy shrugging their shoulders, going, what the hell's going on here, to actually pay attention to the game that was going on in front of them. And yeah, then you get to crouching striker, hidden hand for the goal. And it's one of my biggest issues with football right now, especially when they brought in the fourth and fifth officials in Europe, is why they stand in that quadrant. Why have we not got linesmen on both sides of the field? One of them can call offside and the other one can look for issues. It's not that difficult. The linesman can obviously not see that because he tracks left backs. Crouch knows he can't see it because the guy's 6'7" and he can easily put his hand in front of his face and the linesman's not going to see it. Mike Dean's got to make a decent run for once in his life to actually see what's going on with the play. And because Arsenal players can't see it, because understandably they're not looking around going, "Oh, I should be doing the linesman's job here really, or the referee's job, looking out for a handball. I'm going to try and defend this cross that's coming into a striker." And Monreal's the only one that sees it. And to be fair, he's right next to it. He's, you know, the ref should be doing something. They need support. As much as a dickhead Mike Dean is, they need the support. And because they're all so arrogant up at PGML to not bring in this support they need and say, "No, we know what we're doing." It's like, no, you fucking don't. Look at this goal. You don't know what you're doing. You need support. And we'd have a clean sheet. And that's end of, really, on that whole situation, because they just lost control of the game and it's resulted in us conceding a goal. Fortunately, it didn't really matter for the overall result, but
That's a key point actually, because I genuinely thought at 2-1 I thought, oh, this could go one or two ways. I mean, we saw a couple of our defenders flying into challenges. There was a bit of sort of rough and tumble, and I thought, Christ, if we start, because basically what Stoke did then is they invited us into playing their tactics, into a fight, and we fell for it for 10 or 15 minutes, albeit without any protection for the referee. And we'll come on to Mike Dean's another incident involving Dean in a second, but yeah, I think you make a good point there. It was all about sort of composure, and glad it didn't cost us, because at that stage, as you rightly say, the referees do need some help, do need some assistance, and it's cheating, isn't it?
Sorry, as someone's just put in the chat, the fact that our fourth place position could come down to goal difference as well with Liverpool. This could be huge. We might have to play a 39th game against Liverpool. You know how they play against top 5 or top 10 sides? We might have to trick them to say we finished 11th to get a win.
Yeah, it's and I think, I don't know if you guys saw the Man City Leicester game at lunchtime, and there was obviously a penalty incident that where Riyad Mahrez struck the ball twice from a penalty spot. Kasper Schmeichel gave an interview after the game where he clearly was frustrated, and they asked him about it because the first goal is clearly offside, and even I think when you've even got commentators who don't really understand the game, and a commentator like Martin Tyler, who's very, very experienced, and they were banging on about, did Raheem Sterling get a touch for that goal? It's completely irrelevant if he got a touch or not. He's interfering with play.
Yep.
And I thought Kasper Schmeichel made a really good point after the game, and he said, this changes my perspective on the goal in 4 different positions. He's offside in 3 different periods of play. And when the final sort of thing goes in, he also affects the defender's position, folks, because he can't get across and get the block. And it's the same in this situation. That whole momentum that Stoke gathered from that goal would have been avoided and killed if the right decision was made. And similarly with the Leicester game, that penalty, I think Schmeichel made the point, it was in a Champions League final. It was overruled and was given. So you just want that consistency. And as much as it was, quote unquote, from Pardew, clever play from Crouch, it's cheating. And as long as you don't have a repercussion, players will cheat. So, well done, Stoke, for scoring a goal that was completely illegitimate. But let's get back to Arsenal. That's enough on Stoke for another day. Alexis, Jace, he came up trumps again. I know some people have got divisive opinions. We all know that he does have a habit of giving the ball away. We know that he can be a little bit of a sod at times for how he reacts on the pitch. But he was signalling to the bench that he potentially might want to come off. Whether it looked like a tight thigh. It seemed like the Arsenal bench had no idea about it because nobody was really in any urgency to get him off. Yeah. And then clearly not moving at full percent, he picks up a pass. I think it's from Mesut Ozil, I think it was. And then just drives forward and with the aid of a slight deflection, buries the third goal. And that killed the momentum. It could finish given the fact that he was clearly on sort of half a leg at that point.
Yeah, I know. And I was actually a bit irate for the fact that any other players, and you got to think, Alexis Sanchez, the man who is ticked off about sitting versus Sutton, is asking to come off, and Wenger goes, "Nah, leave it."
I genuinely don't even think he knew. Nobody seemed to know, did they?
He had to be looking at somebody over there. Somebody had to be seeing that and just going, we'll go. Hey, you're fine. You're fine. Just
all the players. Surely one of the players should have run over
somebody. But glad he didn't come off because he scored, and it was a chance well taken again. His celebration, there's been a lot of talk about, his celebration and what it means and everything like that. Like, let's not act like players can't act like they're with you until they're not with you. Right? Let's just go ahead. So I don't read anything into that. But luckily the guys just got a motor that even when you've got a piston that's not firing and your left thigh or your left quad or hamstring or whatever it was, you're still able to do what he did there, and sort of really give us some peace of mind there to put the game away and give us like some more confidence that we're okay. Like, the craziness is over. Let's finish this game out and leave here with the 3 points. So it was really nice to see. I still don't like the fact that there was a time when he wanted Bellerin to make an extra run, and he passed to Bellerin, and then Bellerin sort of stay there and passed it back, and then he gets it back out to another midfielder, then looks at Bellerin and just berates him for like a few minutes. Like, okay, cool. Like, I understand you want to set that up and you feel he should have done something different. That still doesn't necessarily give you the right to go that far in on a player. There are times when you should correct a player and say, hey, this is best to do here, but it's how he does it that comes off incorrectly and it comes off petulant. And I think that's where the issues are, and I think that's really a bigger issue there, because it seems like he's talking down to players and teammates, not players, teammates. And the second, I don't care if you're Messi or Ronaldo or Alexis Sanchez or you're Yaya Sanogo, the second that you talk down to somebody who's supposed to be your teammate, you're going to start to lose credibility and respect with that person. That's my fear for it. Whether he goes or stays in the summer, I honestly could care less. He'll score goals and he'll give the ball away if he stays, and if he leaves, he'll probably score goals and give the ball away wherever he goes. Right? We should hopefully be able to replace a player like him, though. Let's not act like he cost us $70 million. Right? It was a decent bit of business, and if we can sell him on for more than that, let's. I'm not too hurt with that. But at the same time, while he's on our team, yeah, he gives the ball away, and you got to take the bad with the good. So I'll take him giving the ball away in some tight spaces, or not be able to pick a pass, or play a ball when he really needs to. But he has come up big for us, and you can't ever deny that. So let's give the players some credit, and the main thing, no matter what, let's support him while he's in our shirt. That's the biggest thing. No matter what he does, let's try to support him.
Yeah, well said. As I said on the radio show on Wednesday after the Southampton game, I just think you have to do everything you can within reason to keep the player. I mean, I don't think you change your whole structure of the club, and naturally you have to be a bit careful about how much you offer him. But I just think he's the one, arguably one of two genuinely world-class players we have, and it's what it represents if you let him walk away from the club. Josh, and just quickly before we come on to the fourth goal, anything? Did you read into this celebration at all? I've had a couple of texts from mates saying, that's the biggest sign that he's going to stay. There seems to be a lot. It's nothing to do with the badge kissing. It's more about the fact that he pointed. If you haven't seen it, he runs off and he obviously hits the badge, and then he points to the crowd and then sort of points down as if to say, "I'm staying here." Do you think that is anything in it, Josh? Do you read into these things? I don't personally, but.
No, in my cynical mind, I thought he was just double checking which shirt he was wearing just to make sure he went over to the right set of fans, and thinking, "Oh, I'm still with these guys, not Bayern Munich. Okay, fine, whatever." But yeah, I think overall, Alexis, he was as frustrating as always. I think in the whole game overall. I think I put in our chat, although I looked like I got a bit of egg on my face when I said, "Why didn't he go down when the ball went out for a throw?" Because he was signalling to the bench and no one seemed to be doing anything. But just go down. Go down, clutch your leg. Stoke might not play on, but at least Mike Dean, between one of you, there's two bunches of cunts here. One of them's going to give in and go, okay, we should probably hold on to the ball, slow the play down and deal with it that way. But otherwise, I think hopefully, well, I'm not even sure if he'll play against Sunderland, but hopefully the fact that we left him on for too long doesn't mean that that's the reason why he misses Sunderland, and that the injury beforehand was more than that. To be honest, overall, I think he's gone in the summer already. But I'm not sure where he'll go and who we should bring in to replace. But I think we can replace him. It's like some fans have been saying that, no manager is bigger than the club. Well, no player is bigger than the club either. But the way that people were talking about Alexis, it's like we should be building a statue for him for one good season, one outstanding season, and overall just very good play when he's come to us, from what you'd expect when you buy a £35 million player from Barcelona. You expect these kind of results from him. But I think, overall, I think he is gone.
The manager came out after the game and said that he doesn't expect Alexis to miss the Sunderland game. He expects him to be fit. He said it was just a bit of a tight thigh. So that would suggest to me that he'll probably play.
Also, I just want to put Dom just put in the comment box. Leaving him on won't affect the injury. He probably won't play versus Sunderland, though. From our medical experts' opinion. So Interesting to see though how it
Which
works out.
Yeah, I was going to say, which ironically, the manager just come out and said he will play with. I think I'm with Dom. I have a sneaking suspicion that the lesser spotted coffee machine Walcott will be up top for Sunderland. I mean, let's be honest, boys. If we can't score goals against Sunderland with Danny Welbeck up front, or Mattia Debuchy up front, we might as well all go home now. So I have a sneaking suspicion Dom might be right on that one. I think we might see Alexis maybe just given a bit of time off. But we shall see. The only other thing to mention on the celebration, did you see the antics when he was on the bench with Alex Iwobi?
Yeah.
I don't quite know what that was all about. It was awfully Bale for me, which is never a good thing. All this heart crap. And,
I think they were talking about goal celebrations because if you remember when Shaka scored, he did the heart finger, which is just one. So if you're a professional athlete, don't dab anymore because it's not 2015, and don't do the heart thing because Jesus Christ, everybody does that. As cringeworthy as Sturridge's celebration is, it's original. Cool.
Are you basically saying, James, you want to more like Dele Alli's pathetic little chopsy hand gestury twatty thing?
I honestly would rather everybody do Antoine Griezmann's cell phone pickup because that to me is the greatest celebration of all time. I just absolutely love the phone pickup. Anyway, it was nice. I think they were actually trying to explain something to Gabrielle, and they were having to do hand motions.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
because Gabrielle still
doesn't have a clue what's going on.
Speak English.
I agree. Even Alexis is sort of looking at Iwobi and I don't really know what to say.
Gabrielle's language died out with the Neanderthals. I think he only talks to people in cave paintings. That's it.
But he was in Stoke today, so that probably came across loud and clear.
So Stoke and Diego Costa evidently understand him,
and John Terry's mum as well, allegedly.
But, allegedly.
Yes. But I did see. I see celebrations for me. I think it should be like the black and white days: a hearty handshake and a trot back to the centre circle. Lanzini. I think that's probably what, or an Alan Shearer. Just the standard one arm in the air. To
also quote our good friend Spasha is Arsenal the biggest bottlers on earth. Well, how have we bottled it recently? I ask you, good sir, how have we bottled it recently?
If you haven't had,
that was the one. Sorry, that was the one biggest disappointment I had when Pochettino was given his Manager of the Month award, and they didn't give him a bottle of champagne for it.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, that would have been. If you haven't heard the podcast from Thursday, Steve's come up with a lovely new friends to replace St Totteringham's Day. It's now St Bottlingham's Day. So
yes.
Yeah, very good, Steve. Like that a lot. So we should adopt that next season. But yeah, I mean, we shall see. I mean, the thing is with Alexis, it's a very, very good goal. Given the fact that he was obviously on, was either sore or tired, whatever. Very good finish to have the composure, particularly after running onto the ball in that sort of close area. Very, very good finish, and it was the goal we needed at the time we got it. I felt at 2-1, it was you didn't want to go into that last 10 minutes at 2-1. You wanted to be secure, and that third goal just killed off any more DNA in Stoke, which is always a good thing, and indeed sensible. But yes, fair play to Alexis, and then we wrapped it up, Josh, with the fourth goal, which I mean, it's a very, very tidy finish from Olivier Giroud. I think it was quite underpinned actually of how well he took it. So again, a proper centre forwards goal. He was in the right place. He manipulated the space very well, coming into that central area from a cutback. Was it Ramsey's cutback? I forget who cut it back.
It was Ramsey's cutback.
There you go.
I think
second time in a week.
Well, yeah, well. I was hoping that we'd get like the full house of perfect Stoke game bingo, where we had vengeance on Debuchy from holding and Rambo to get a goal against them, but he managed to square it back to Giroud, who for the second time in the game, couldn't really miss because his positioning was that good that managed to pick him out, slid in, keeper was all ends up, and it was a perfect end to the game, really. Just completely quashed any chance of a comeback from Stoke. And you could see once it had gone in, they were like, right, that's it, we're done. Just back down to the mines.
back down to the caves and start sniffing each other's pants. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, good finish. And Ramsey, I thought when he came out, because he had a chance, didn't he, straight away as well. And I actually thought it was a very, very good save from Butland. Really, really good save coming onto it, because Ramsey was very composed as he took the sideways step to try and make the angle. So that's a good save. He's a keeper I like, I must confess. I think he needs to be rescued from Stoke as soon as possible. But yeah, fourth goal clincher. Game, set, and match, which was rather nice. Let's talk about some individuals then. Jace, I want to start with one of the star performers today, who is a player who's obviously come into the team of late. Now, when I remember when we signed the gentleman in question, Mr. Rob Holding, when we signed him, I remember speaking to Ross, who of course you know, and said, "What sort of player are we getting here? You know, is it another Gary Cahill from Bolton, or is he better?" And Ross said, "This kid's going to be a star. He's a very, very good ball playing centre half. He knows when to stick his foot in. He knows when to be a bit nasty, but he's a very good ball playing centre half." And I thought his interview after the game was very interesting when he said, "I like this formation. It suits my game. You know, I can bring the ball out from the back. I can play the ball." And he said, "I like to push further up." And he could mix it as well. There was a couple of tasty challenges. I quite like the booking he got, where he just put one of their Stoke players on their ass. Kid looks like he's got something, doesn't he? He looks like a proper. He strikes me as a player the fans are going to warm to the more he plays, and he got a very good reception coming off the pitch today. Do you think he's a player that is basically playing his way into a cup final team and potentially into the team long term?
No, I absolutely do. I'm still. He's a young player. I'm still hesitant to overhype him. He's going to make some mistakes, and there's going to be times when he gets caught out, and he's going to make the wrong decision. And we've got to live with that. He's a young player. With that said, though, today he almost didn't put a foot wrong. No real shaky decisions. Obviously, loved the foul, especially against Arnautovic, and obviously the retribution that's been mentioned on here for the Debussy sort of situation there. So I if you're Manchester City, you got to be just punching yourself in the nuts right now for having signed John Stones for so much money, and then looking at a kid like Rob Holding, who to me at this point is better on the ball. And by the way, we've all decided we're going to start calling him just Bobby Holding. It's just Bobby H. So yeah, you've seen a kid like Bobby, and just the confidence that he has for such. And he was directing Shaka where to go on corners. Like
I noticed that.
The confidence of that, and the balls that you've got to have for a former captain of a decent Bundesliga side to go. No. You if he goes here, I'm going to go here. You do that. If he does like that. That is the type of player that we've needed at the back for a long time. And no offense to Mustafi or Koscielny or Mertesacker, but that type of instruction, the confidence of being able to look your teammate in the eye and say, look, this is what we're going to do. This is how we should play this, I think has been missing. And now hopefully he can continue to improve on that and grow on that. And he looks like somebody who definitely, in my opinion, defenders don't come into their own until about 25, 26. And if he's this good, this young, then he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Let's all hope that we continue to just, give him the experience, put him in the right position to succeed. Because I don't always feel that we place our players in especially young players. Look at a guy like Iwobi. We didn't put him in a position to succeed in the middle of the season. And look where he's at now. He can't get a game. You look at a guy like Holding, and we've put him in a position to succeed, surrounded by a couple of world-class center backs in Koscielny and Mustafi. And I don't care what you say about who's where or national team status or whatever. Koscielny and Mustafi are both world-class center backs. And it looks like, I'm not willing to say he is now, but it looks like Holding, if he continues on this trajectory, is on the way there now. And so let's hope that he continues his growth and his maturity as a defender and a player and a person. Because if he continues on the path that he's on right now, I feel he he could possibly wear the armband for Arsenal in the future. Again, I don't like to put a lot of pressure on a player, and he could still turn out. This could be the top of his potential, and we could be seeing the plateau from here on out. But I think even right now that plateau is at a really high level, and it's just fun to really watch him right now. That's the main thing. Is it's fun to see him play, and God, when he has the ball for a defender of his age, he looks like a midfielder with it at his feet. I mean, he's looking, even with somebody on him, he's not looking down at the ball. He's looking up, trying to find the next pass, and that's huge at this level, especially for a young guy like him. So yeah, it really is a pleasure to watch. And like I said, we shouldn't overhype him. Let's just enjoy what we have, and continue to hope that he continues to develop and grow and mature.
Yeah, well said. You know, it's funny as well that obviously the term world class is banded around, and I was waiting for somebody to say something, and Marble Halls TV is actually and he's actually said exactly what I was going to say here when he says Mustafi isn't world class. Now, I do agree with him. I don't think Mustafi's there yet, and what I mean by that is the rashness Mustafi has to stop. You know, that throwing himself into challenges.
But no. Let's. But
I agree with
everybody
you.
thinks that Sergio Ramos is, and look how many red cards and yellows he is. Come on.
I was just going to say, Marble Halls.
People consider Sergio Ramos to be a world class defender. But when you look at his discipline, well, Chris, that's your opinion.
He's a world class leader.
That's your opinion.
He's not a world class defender.
But I would put Mustafi above, especially in rashness and decision making. I would put him above Ramos. He does need to learn when to stay back and not just go charging in, especially on that tackle he had today was god awful. I think it was Josh or Ellis who thought they're like, that was so bad. I thought that was Shaka, and it was like no, it was Mustafi. And he tends to go for those, especially those aerial balls. He'll charge 15 yards forward for it and miss and sort of leave his partners exposed there at the back. But I think that he's coming from a league where he was able to get away with that, and now he can't do that. It's going to take him some adaptation. He hasn't been here for a full season, folks.
No.
Jesus Christ, give him a break. Let him adapt a little bit. He's gonna grow and learn and mold himself, and he's still in that period. Like same thing with Shaka. Like let's not call him a bust after one season. Jesus Christ.
I agree with what Marble Halls has just come back with and said. Mustafi's good. He's just not the best in the world or up there. And I do agree with that. I think, as you rightly say, Jace, Koscielny took a season or two to properly get the iron the mistakes out. And
I remember when Koscielny started with Vermaelen, and I would fucking moan and bitch for hours after that. Look at him now.
It's funny. People talk about Vincent. I mean, it's another rant, probably from my point of view. People talk about Vincent Kompany being world class. Did you see him try to defend the Okazaki goal today? It was embarrassing. I mean, seriously, he's a world class defender. He gets caught under a simple cross.
You think with a big head like that, he'd have a big brain. But
he would, wouldn't you? I think it's all subjective. I think the truth is there are very, very few world-class centre-backs in world football right now. Very few. And by the way, I don't think Gerard Piqué is either. But I know Josh and I's friend Joel would certainly question my view on that, but I don't think he is. But there aren't many around, that's for sure. But no, on Rob Holding, he also seems very ingrained in the Arsenal spirit. I don't know if you had the interview after the game, and he said, they said, are you going to be supporting West Ham tomorrow? And he said, well, I was when they were playing Spurs last week. I like that comment. I like that a lot.
Also,
Josh.
he's so northern it hurts.
Yeah,
he is so northern. I think he's playing so well because the ferret in his trousers is telling him to go. He's talking him through the game. He is a flat cap away from just being a stereotype, but Rob Holding he was superb in this game.
During halftime, I put the Arsenal commentary on at halftime, and it was his one-on-one with Emiliano.
Martinez,
Martinez, and he was talking about being from the north, and he said that he grew up supporting Manchester United, and Emiliano goes, well, who do you support now? And he goes, well, I follow Bolton. And Emiliano goes, well, do you watch United? And Holding goes, nah, don't care about him, mate. Don't care about him.
You know,
it's absolutely no. He's got the right attitude, and again, I love because a really good buddy of mine is a City fan, and I just love going. Did you see Holding play this weekend? Yeah. How much did you pay for John Stones? Okay, cool. Carry on.
The one thing that you don't want to do, and Josh, I'll bring you in on this point as well. The one thing that I don't want to do, and I see it in the chat box this evening. I've seen it at a variety of places. People immediately go, "Oh, well, he could be the next Tony Adams." You know what? Just let the kid develop. Yeah. I don't want him to be the new Tony Adams. I want him to be the new Rob Holding. I want him to be his own player in his own right. You don't look at players at Manchester United, and they say, well, Zlatan's the new Cantona. No, he's just Zlatan, and that's what you want. You just want a player to come in, be given time to develop, and just be the player he is. Josh, do you want to just have a brief word on Rob as well?
Yeah, can I have a little rant of everybody describing him as John Stones? Because this isn't the move that defined John Stones. John Stones' career will not be defined by the Everton to Man City move. Rob Holding and John Stones both came straight out of the Championship and then performed incredibly well for the first team that they went to. John Stones has just had the problem that he's got a manager who doesn't really do tackling and has a defence that's got the average age of about 48 in it. So the guy's on a hiding to nothing at that move, and irrespective if he costs £50 million, how much would it cost someone to get Rob Holding out of us now? Probably about the same. So
for us, about £10, probably.
Well, yeah,
exactly. Probably.
Yeah, we've got the worst negotiators in town, but
Dick Law.
I think, irrespective of where you look at it, the guy is going to cost substantially more than the £2 million we paid for him out there.
£2 million
is still. Don't start that. Don't start that. But I think overall, this game suited him down to a ground, because if you look at the division he came out of, the Championship, and the type of football that he would see there week in, week out, it's very similar to how Stoke approach a game. It's quite physical. It's a bit more rough and tumble than your average Premier League game where there's high technical ability. Like Man City, that's the kind of game you should look at and say, right, the guy has stepped up. Because this Stoke game played into his hands. At Bolton, he would have been fighting for his life and would have been getting these elbows left, right and centre from those kind of, overrated pub footballers, or those guys who just overall are going to look for that edge that their skill can't deal with. So they're going to try and knock you in, give you a cheeky elbow. They're going to knock you in the ribs. And this game played into his hands. And that's why he looks so good, because that's what he was doing week in, week out last season. He was playing these kind of teams that would kind of be a bit more physical with you. And that's the kind of thing that we'd like to see, because we don't really have a defender who enjoys a physical battle so much. I think Mertesacker did, because he was so massive. Everyone would look at him and, this little man syndrome. You always try and pick on the big guy. I'm sure you have it, Kris, all the time when you go out on everybody. Because everyone's taller than you.
Yeah, I had it last night 3 times, in fact. So yeah.
Exactly. So that's the same thing that Rob Holding's dealt with, and Mustafi. I don't think the other guys have really. So that's why he looks so good, because he can cope with the fact that Arnautovic is going to look to put his elbow in somewhere, or Peter Crouch is going to give you a flick in the bollocks before he jumps up for a header to make sure you don't jump with him. It all happens in that kind of level of football, and Stoke have brought that to the Premier League. And I've hated them since League One, when they used to do this to Brighton, and now they're just doing it to Arsenal. Makes me hate them even more, to be honest.
The thing I really liked as well is, and also Goonies in the USA brought this point up, Arsene Wenger, when he said, I'm sorry that Rob Holding didn't cost £50 million. And I know that was a sly dig, but it does prove that there are some youngsters out there that the club as a whole can scout and can get in. Unfortunately, it's not as many as we'd like, but he was identified. We went and got him. We got that deal done. And arguably that was the Gary Cahill that we should have got, if you know what I mean. Obviously we refused to pay an extra 40 quid for Gary Cahill, or whatever the hell it was at the time. And this is the player we've now got. And people talk about, and as much of a monumental thundercunt as he is, John Terry was a fucking good defender, and a very good captain of Chelsea. And obviously, if we can find a player Coming through at a very similar level. John Terry was a very similar age when he broke through, and he made mistakes even throughout his career. But if we can find a player anywhere near as close to, as our previous leaders were, then I think we've got a gem on our hands, and we just got to be careful now that if he does make some mistakes, people don't go all Iwobi on him. And I think everyone knows what I mean by that. So, and I love the tackle when he sized Arnautovic in half. Love that. Love that.
And it was the commentators over here in the US were actually looking for red.
That was David Pleat, wasn't it?
Cynical. I believe it was so cynical. One of the most cynical challenges of the entire match, but it was just so beautiful to watch.
Yes, well, I think we all say it's our Rob Holder corner covered for this week's show. But no, I think we all say, long may he continue this form, and hey, keep the kid in the team. He's done very, very well. I'd keep him exactly where he is. So let's do that. We should talk about a couple of other players though. Josh, I want to go to you on this one because I'm going to give Jason another player in a second. I want to come to you on the player that I know you're in my corner on. Mr. Davies, shut your ears now. Mad Frankie. Now, we all know that I love a bit of cock, and I've not denied this, and I've stuck firmly by my cock love all this season. I thought he was very good today, Josh. Very, very good. I thought the one thing that really grips my shit the most when people criticise Coquelin is when people say that he can't play football, he can't pass. He's. I do understand those people that say he goes to ground too often and he can be a bit rash. I completely agree with those people. But to say he can't play football is the most idiotic statement. It's beyond idiotic because he wouldn't be anywhere near the club if he couldn't play football. He certainly wouldn't be near a Premier League club. And I think today he showed what playing in the higher role can do if he's got the right sort of player behind him. In this case, Xhaka today and a back three. What did you make overall of his performance, Josh? And what do you make of the people that are criticising him constantly? Is it Gilles Grimandi syndrome? Is it just that someone has to be bashing someone at all times?
Yeah, we'll come back to a comment you just made in that. I'm surprised you can still grip shit if you love cock that much. But
well, naturally.
On Coquelin, I think, I agree. There is a useful point to having Coquelin in your squad. I wouldn't sell him because he's rubbish. I think he still offers a lot to us. A team always needs a, quote unquote, as we've heard from him, a limited footballer. Like, the guy can tackle. He can do that. You just got to put him in the right place. And we've seen this season that he has been deployed in all sorts of places. And what we've seen today was he was fantastic with intercepting. He was really good with getting some decent tackles in, and his passing was very, very good. However, what I would say was Stoke were playing so deep today that the position that Coquelin was taking up was that of where your deep line destructive player would be. He wasn't really tackling high up the field if you look where the relative position of the rest of midfielders were. He was just playing quite deep in that relative midfield and then had that option to play it back. And because we had three at the back, there were then more players there for him to have that option to play it back to. So I think overall, this is the kind of game where you look at it and say, if a team's going to sit back, you want a Coquelin just to make sure, they've got some quick players on the break, especially if they were looking to start someone like Berahino. You've got Shaqiri, who we know, once he gets up to speed, is a very quick player. Arnautovic, again, you want to make sure that they're going to break it up, really. And I think he's the kind of player that you want in there. When you look at options around world football for who's in there, they've all got foibles. You're going to mention Polish Greg at PSG. I'm not going to attempt his surname because no one's got time for that. That's the one. He's also limited in other ways, and people are crying out for him, but he's going to cost a lot to come out. And what we've got here is a cheaper option. Coquelin knows that he's not really first choice. What he did was have an incredible season when he came in from Charlton. and came in to do a job. And we're lucky that he turned into one of the best defensive midfielders that we had
At the time,
in the long time, since Gilberto Silva. And we were saying this is exactly what we needed. And then we go and ruin it by playing him out of position. The guy's not a bad guy. I'm sure if you play Debussy up front, we're going to start going, well, the guy's a rubbish striker. That's what we're saying over Coquelin fundamentally. It's just the fact that he's moved slightly higher in the midfield. It's the same kind of extreme movement for him as it would be to be playing Debussy through the middle. That you'd go and say, well, he's rubbish there. But if you played him again in his rightful position at right back, it's a better thing. And, the amount we're playing Coquelin, you're going to have to pay the likes of, I'll go back to him, Polish Greg, a lot more than what we're getting from at the moment. Jesse Lingard's on what, £110,000 a week?
Jesse Figart.
Yeah, at Man United. Like, he was a good player for Brighton. I'll give him that. But he's not £110,000 a week good on any stretch of the imagination. So I think if we're looking at being an elite club, we're going to have to pay elite club wages. And the fact that we're paying less than we'll use that as a starter, that 110 is what you should be paying your squad-based players, then we're getting a bargain on Coquelin. I don't care if he only plays 5 games a season, because I think what he does in those 5 games a season is better than anything else that comes from our squad. It's the same argument with Giroud. There's games that suits him and there's games that don't. And so long as the rest of the squad around it can deal with the fact that in the games that are not suited to him, that they can up their game, and I don't think we have a problem with keeping him. There's other players that we need to get rid of. The fact that a whole midfield this season seemed to be built around Santi Cazorla is just outrageous.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, he's on 70 odd grand a week. I know some people would say that's ridiculous, but you aren't going to get a squad player on much less than that sadly anymore. It's just the way of the world. Like you aren't going to be able to sign somebody else and say we'll put you on 40 grand a week. They're just not going to come in for it unless you've got a youth player, and that's essentially what Coquelin was or has come through as. And I'm not sitting here and saying that he should start every game. I'm not saying he's the most technically brilliant player we've got. He's clearly not.
You are.
I'm genuinely not. But I just don't think that the criticism that he's had has been unfair, 100% in my opinion. And I think it's the same people. I made this analogy on, I think it was on the last show. The same people that criticise Coquelin for throwing himself in the way of blocks. Like, I saw a lot of people take the piss out of him for the way he tried to block that Wayne Rooney shot last week. And I know it looks absolutely nuts. But you know what? I'd rather that fucking commitment than Lauren Koscielny turning his back at Crystal Palace. Do you know what I mean? So
remember the John Terry torpedo that he did for England?
Yes, with his
and
head.
People were taking the piss, but he bloody blocked it, didn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. So I mean, and I don't think I don't think commitment is the fault of Coquelin. It's just adapting to a new role. And it's funny, really. And I'm not remotely comparing these players before anyone jumps on this, but it's funny how he signed Thierry Henry as a failed left winger from Juventus. And look what we turned him into. So, I think the system with 3 at the back, you can play Coquelin and Xhaka in the 3 at the back system, because if you notice, Xhaka sat deepest and Coquelin just patrolled in front, and it was almost like you had 2 with then Ozil and Sanchez in front of them. But you didn't have 2 flat Xhaka and Coquelin together. Coquelin was slightly further forward, and that's where he was picking up the ball and winning it in almost in the centre circle position. And I thought his passing today was excellent, as was Xhaka's. I have to say, Xhaka was equally very good on his passing today as well. So, when
on Coq, can we say there was even a message in WhatsApp today from a one Jason Davis.
I saw this.
That said, "Nice win. Great to see Coq playing football today."
Yes, and I think Steve responded with
turning.
What was it? Steve put something like
steady,
steady, yeah. I love you, Steve. No, I mean, yeah. None of us are sitting here, not even me. None of us are sitting here saying that he is the one. He's the solution to all of our problems. And I think all of us would say if we can upgrade on him in the summer, do it.
But he's also not the cause of all of our midfield problems. Let's also say that as well.
Exactly. Exactly that. Exactly that. So, yeah, he's not the solution, but he certainly isn't the only problem. So let's try and build rather than getting rid of all these players every 5 minutes. Okay, Jason, I wanted to another sort of player I wanted to touch on. Nacho Monreal very quickly. I thought he was very good today as well. I mean, he's a player who's been derided a little bit at times this season. Again, I think.
Yeah.
Largely unfairly, it's not been his sterling season for him by any stretch of imagination, but I thought he's played really well overall, and again today, he provided a couple of opportunities. He nearly scored with a header. His distribution was good. He was all over the place. He reads the game very well, and he looks like a proper Arsenal guy. Is he a player you'd look to tie down for that little bit longer? Because there's a lot of talk that he might fancy a trip back to Spain this summer, and I think I'd like to hang on to him personally.
Yeah, you'd probably want to keep him for at least another couple of years. I don't know if this, this left back from Schalke deal that's been rumored is completely official. They're not going to have any Europe at all. We would at least have some sort of Europe to offer him. So I don't know if he's going to come. But when you look at him, he'll definitely still has something. He's getting older. He's getting up there in age. He was never the paciest player, but he had enough pace, which you could definitely see today. Unlucky not to score that header. Really, just unlucky. Just probably a quarter of an inch, a little further to the right there, and that ricochets into the goal for our first there. And it's come up with some pretty big goals for us this season, to be honest with you. But there are times, and I think he's one of those players where how he plays really determines how we play as a team. Because you look at some of our worst performances, and they've been really poor performances for Monreal. You look at some of our best performances, it's been performances where he's done really well. He's one of those players that you don't think is being as integral as they actually probably are, but he is. We know what he can do going forward. I think defensively there are definitely upgrades on him. But at the same time, he's not just a throwaway player who we could get rid of and easily replace somebody with his quality. We really need to be careful about how we sort of tread on that situation. And I definitely think keeping him for another couple of years, at least one, hopefully we can get somebody in this summer. Fingers crossed for Ricardo Rodriguez. Hopefully that Milan deal is not finalized. But it'd be really good to sort of see him stay around. He does seem to be a true Arsenal guy, and really have that sort of that class that you expect out of Arsenal players, but also have that sort of that hunger. That's the one thing, even in his poor performances, the guy still put in tried to work. He hasn't got his head down. He's always kept his head up, always tried to do what he felt was right in the situation, even if he made wrong decisions there. So probably one of the more sort of unsung heroes of the last few seasons, I know. But yeah, you look at you look at what he sort of brings to the team. Just he's got that sort of quiet leadership where he just goes about his job and does what he has to do to get what he feels, whether it's lacking or not at times, what he feels is the right performance. And it's hard to fault a guy like that. So really good, a really good guy to have around the squad, even if he's not starting on a game in, game out basis. Really, really good to have him in the team to at least help maybe some of the younger players and maybe get a younger left back in who he can sort of pass some information down onto and be a mentor for.
Yeah, and multi-positional as well. Obviously we've seen him play at centre back as well, and excuse me, strikes me as a very good utility player. I actually think he could play in that holding midfield role if pushed to it. I think he reminds me a little bit of second mention in one podcast for Gilles Grimonti, but a player who he's never ever going to be like a guy that's going to write tabloid headlines, but he'll just do a very solid job in any position.
You look at his passing with his right foot; it's not terrible. I mean, it's
not.
You wouldn't necessarily say he's two-footed like you would a player like Santi, but his weaker foot's definitely not bad either. So yeah, I could see that, and obviously playing. So that's why I think Ricardo Rodriguez is a decent replacement, because Ricardo Rodriguez has had to play a lot of center back this year with all the injuries that Wolfsburg's had in the back line. Sadly, knowing too much as a new Wolfsburg fan this year, with not a single one of our starting defenders this season playing in today's game. But yeah, so Ricardo Rodriguez, obviously, been linked with Inter, but that's somebody who I'd like to see come in because I think he's slightly a little bit actually better defensively than a guy like Monreal, and is a really good set piece taker as well. So that would sort of bring something that Nacho doesn't have at the moment. But definitely Nacho's somebody that you want to keep around the club, if not just for his attitude.
Sadly, I think Double R is likely to be in Italy or France next season, from what I can gather. So, yeah,
Hush.
sadly, I don't think you're going to. Trust me, I'd like you as well, Jace. But then, if we're going to get Said Kolasinac, then I'm not against that idea. I'm cool with that. I think he's he's a very talented fullback and sort of wing back at Schalke, and if we can get him on a free, which it seems like is likely, then or for a very nominal fee at least, I think it's a good option. So it'd be very, very interesting. Okay, right. Rather than sort of focusing on more individuals, just have a little bit of a chat about the top 4 race and take a few questions. I do want to just give notable shout outs. I thought Aaron Ramsey was very good when he came on today as well, and gave us that little bit of an energy boost towards the end. Conducted himself well given the treatment he got when he came on. Again, Stoke fans, cunts. They're not really fans, are they? They're just fucking cave painting finger fucking twats. Anyway, I thought he had a telling contribution. We've mentioned Alexis, a doff of the cap to Olivier Giroud again for all the stick he gets, and the 2 goals were important today. And good news about Oxlade-Chamberlain's injury apparently as well. He's not likely to miss too much time, so that's got to be a good thing. We want to keep these players. Fit going into that cup final, don't we? Really, in particular. And is it Tuesday we play Sunderland? I think it is. I may be wrong, but it's coming up next week anyway. So
it's Tuesday or Wednesday.
One of the two. So indeed. Okay, so notable there, and I thought again Koscielny and Mustafi overall were pretty good, apart from Mustafi's lunge for that booking. I thought that was really reckless, and he has to get that out of his game. But overall a good solid team performance, and we can ask for no more. We had to win this game. We've won it. We've won it comfortably, with a little bit left behind. So good times. Let's just get your views, gentlemen, before we take questions. Josh, if I can get you and Jace between you to have a look out for some questions. So if you have questions, guys and girls, post some into the box. We'll do our best to get to as many as we can. But while we're waiting for those to come in, top 4 race then. We're all West Ham fans again for tomorrow. They've done us proud. The last time we needed West Ham to get a result concerning the top 4, can you remember when this was?
Lanzini.
I'm not sure. Was I born?
Yes.
Can I ask that question first?
It was Yossi Benayoun, if you remember rightly, when he scored for West Ham in Lasagna Day. Of course.
Yes.
So that was the last time we needed a big result from the Hammers to get us into the top 4. So hopefully we can, if we can send over some dodgy pie or something. But West Ham, Liverpool. I mean, do you think? First of all, do you think Man City are gone? So just a yes or no. Are you happy to concede that top 3 is gone, both of you?
Yeah. No. Man City. Man City can lose.
You just said yes and no at the end of the sentence.
Fine. I carpentered it. Leave me alone. I sat on that fence. That fence post is so high up inside me. I don't know what's going on. However,
I know what you're saying, though, Josh. I know what you're saying.
Man City can lose to anybody. Don't give them any credit. Give them as much credit for Liverpool losing. I don't see them losing to West Brom.
I look at at home. I think they'll do West Brom, but I look at Watford away on the final game of the season, where Watford have literally nothing to play for. Mazzara is probably going to be sat. They could just run around like headless chickens and do whatever they want. And can you imagine Niang racing at that Manchester City defence? I just wonder. They caused Liverpool enough problems, but they didn't score. That's the only concern. But I'm to be honest, I'm willing to concede top 3. I think City will have enough. But do we all agree that Liverpool are catchable now? Because they've got this West Ham game tomorrow. Obviously, no Mane. I don't know whether they've got any other injuries. I'll have to look that one up. But they haven't looked convincing for the last few weeks. They obviously sort of have let us into the picture now. Do we think there is a race on here? Because if Liverpool drop any points tomorrow, it's in our hands all of a sudden, which, let's be honest, was unthinkable 6 weeks ago. Unless you're the eternal optimist and some would say deluded twat that I am, because I always thought we'd finish top four, just because I'm massively deluded. But I enjoy it and it's fun. So what do we think, gents? Do we think West Ham have got enough to do us a favour tomorrow, or do we not? You know.
Yeah, no, they can. Liverpool can. They're Dr. Klopp and Mr. Coutinho, because they can. They have some talent who can just show up on any day and run over anybody, and then they can just chase the ball all over the pitch and never catch it and concede 4 or 5. It's really hard to say. I think the biggest thing is, can West Ham's talent that they actually do have, because West Ham has some talent, can they fulfill their potential when they need to? Because I think, obviously you still want to fight for a good place, because at least from a chairman and team president standpoint, because your league position determines how much money you can get in the off season. So, it's super, super important that, I don't think West Ham's going to get. We saw that they still had some fight against Spuds last week, so hopefully they can do the same thing against Liverpool. And it's just which Liverpool turns up. That's really they're a tale of two teams, because some days they show up and they can be the best team that week in England, and then the next week they can show up and just be garbage. So it's I definitely think that if West Ham shows up to play, then they can definitely push Liverpool and it at least nick some points off of them, if not all 3.
Agreed. And Josh, is it one of those games that it's almost gutting that Andy Carroll isn't available? Not because he's any good, because he clearly isn't, but he's that big sort of physical presence that could have unsettled Liverpool's front line, isn't he? He's that kind of striker, whereas West Ham don't really have that kind of player. I mean, they have got Lanzini, but they don't really have that sort of centre forward that you'd look at and go, oh yeah, that's going to be really tough for Liverpool. So do you think it's going to come down to Lanzini having a good game, or is it going to be somebody else who potentially is going to strike for West Ham? Andre Ayew maybe, or Kaleri, who they're playing at the moment.
Andy Carroll is back, unless he got injured in the last game. Yeah, he played against Sunderland.
I take it all back. All is forgiven.
He did F all, but he was there.
He was there.
Credit. Yeah,
maybe it's just the hairstylist that's injured.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah,
he didn't try an overhead, score, and then get injured. Fortunately, he's still there, because if he scores, he gets injured. I'm pretty sure that's the rule with him. But I did say as soon as the mercurial arsehole that was Payet left, that Lanzini would come into his own in that role, and I think they'll have enough. They've got Ayew in there. They've got our old man Nordveit, who I'm sure would also get the rest of the West Ham players up for this Liverpool game. The only issue they've got is their right back got sent off in the last game, but other than that, they've got enough.
Masuaku. Was it Masuaku? He'll come in, I guess.
Yeah, or they'll do. Masuaku was playing anyway, but at left back.
Okay.
But they've got Creswell. They've got options. I don't think it really matters, because Liverpool can't defend, so it's a case of who can score the most.
And it's Liverpool way as well, isn't it? It's when they go away.
Yeah.
They go away from the amazingly rambunctious atmosphere that is Silent Field.
I think we're looking into this too much, because fundamentally West Ham are 13th and Middlesbrough are 19th, and Liverpool only play against the top 10. So I think we just sit back and relax, to be honest, and just see what happens. If we win all of our games, then what more can we have done, to be honest? We were given the option and we've gone for it. If Liverpool do it, then we look back further in the season and we go, well, we were shit here and we were shit there. We've got this chance to get into it, and fundamentally, looking at it, I reckon we can have a really good go at the Europa League if it comes down to it. With people saying, oh, we do absolutely fuck all in Europe, The Europa League is our chance to at least get to a semi-final. Look how shit Man United have been for the whole season, and where are they? In the final, and they've done it since the beginning. They weren't in the Champions League and didn't drop out. They've gone through the whole process and got to the final. I'm pretty sure Arsenal can do exactly the same. And I think at the end of the day, we could have a European trophy next year. Oh, right, it's not the Champions League, but who realistically thinks we're going to get into that group of, old boys who, when you look at UEFA, it's basically, we've got to try and get Bayern, Barca, and Real Madrid into the into the semis, and then we've got to find room for someone else.
That's my only argument, though, Josh, to that, because I mean, people say, all these people that say actually we quite like a season out of the Champions League, Danny. It doesn't benefit the club monetarily, and it, people say, oh well, Man United still attracted Pogba. Well, that's because Man United have got a completely bottomless pit of money and sponsorship, and as much as it really hurts me to say this, Manchester United are a bigger club historically or recent history than Arsenal. Unfortunately, they're a global brand. It's like if Real Madrid had one of those seasons where they ended up in the Europa League, they'd still be able to sign world superstars because they're a name. Whereas if a team, to pick a team from my end of the woods, like a Monaco drop out, suddenly they're appealing right now because they're the talk of Europe and everyone's keen. If they drop out of the Champions League, they're not. I think we genuinely would struggle to keep players. And I think if we stay in the Champions League next season, that might just be enough for Alexis Sanchez to go, you know what, I will give it another year. Well, a new contract and Mesut Ozil. And I know, I agree, Champions League has got monotonous and boring for us because we've gone out at the same stage of the season. But let's be honest, boys, we've had some bloody tough draws. We've drawn Bayern Munich, was it 3 times in the last 7 Champions Leagues? We've had Barcelona, we've had Real Madrid. And I know the argument, you have to beat the best to get through. Of course you do. But look at that group Leicester came out of. Look at the ties Leicester had, and I just think that if we're not a Champions League winning club right now, we're not. That's just a fact. But a good summer and going into the summer off the back of potentially a 4th place finish when nobody expects it, and potentially an FA Cup, whether it's Arsene Wenger or anyone in control, surely that's a better summer than going into it going, yeah, we won the FA Cup, but we didn't get into the Champions League, or worse still, qualifying for the Europa League and losing the FA Cup. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. All I know is I will be cheering on West Ham tomorrow, and certainly hoping that they can do us a favour, because all I want is it to be in Arsenal's hands, so that when we do inevitably lose at home to Sunderland, we can say, well, at least we tried.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we could go on about what we think we'll do next season, but I think fundamentally we need to get our finishing position in place before saying, would you rather Champions League or would you rather go through the UEFA Cup or Europa League?
Exactly.
Because I think we're all going to look a bit stupid when someone comes out with a bit of a weird argument to say, oh, I'd like the Champions League because X and I'd like the Europa League because of Y. I think we all have our reasons to be in and out. One's for glory and one's for money, fundamentally. There's more chance of glory in one than there is for the monetary and the rest of the people we can get in. Because I think there's still less chance of us winning the Champions League if we're in it, but we can still attract people if we are playing in it.
And the bottom line is, you want to be in Europe's top competition, whether you're in it for whether you're in it for 5 minutes or not. And no nickname required, is just put here in the chat. If we get into the Champions League, we're just going to get humiliated right after the group stage yet again. You don't know that. You don't know that. I'm 99% sure if you said to somebody at the start of the 2005 season, when we got to the final, your defence is going to consist of Philip Senderos, Emmanuel Aboué, Kolo Touré and Mathieu Flamini. I don't think anybody would have expected us to have got to the final. So let's just have some bloody faith and see what happens, eh?
Let's also put this into perspective as well. So Sutton United got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and did they get humiliated by Arsenal 5-0? Because I'm pretty sure they were pretty bloody happy they qualified for the FA Cup and not the FA Vars, which is the competition below, which they're also eligible for. So I think it's a hit and miss. They got into the higher competition and got mugged over by a bigger team. So what? I'm pretty sure they're happy about it. All right, a fat guy ate a pie during it, but whatever. Who cares? All the people in the media who are lauding Pochettino and Spurs, anyone remember their massively failed Champions League campaign now? Funny, they had a Europa League group. What was it full of? It was
They failed it.
CSKA Moscow was one of them for sure.
Yeah.
Was it Schalke?
The Belgian team. No, it was. Oh, I'd have to look it up. But
It
was a poor group.
It
wasn't
was a Europa League group. Let's put it that way. There were stronger groups that came out of that than what Spurs ended up with, and they managed to drop out of it completely.
Exactly, and spectacularly shut the bed in the Champions League, which, and again, apparently the all singing, all dancing next force of European football. So yeah, no, I'm with you guys. Let's see what happens. I think that's all we can say. You know, we're all looking into the future. But
can I also just on this the FA Cup's a cool trophy, but fuck me, it pays what, £3 million?
Oh, it's no money in it. I mean, it's a trophy, and as far as I'm concerned, you know, I want to win trophies.
But players, to be honest with you, players want Champions League.
They do.
If you were to ask Sanchez right now, would you rather win the FA Cup and not finish in the Champions League spots, or would you rather play in Champions League and not win that trophy? Alexis Sanchez, and I'm 99% sure of this, will tell you, I want Champions League. I want
whether that's right or wrong.
Even if I'm going out before, like in the knockout rounds, I'm still playing against the best.
Yep.
That's what players want. And to be honest with you, qualifying just for the fucking group stage of the Champions League is £36 million. 36 million compared to 3 for the FA Cup. And yes, it's cool to win a trophy. Like I'm going to be cheering my heart out and hoping we win the FA Cup trophy, especially due to the fact that we're playing Chelsea, right? Like I want us to win every trophy we're in for, no matter what. Okay? But at the same time, this isn't 1985 anymore, where a trophy means the world. The FA Cup trophy has been diminished, unfortunately. I didn't do that. But if you're in the Champions League, the financial benefit to you is so much better than just winning the League Cup or the FA Cup that you have to want you. I don't understand when people say that they would rather win the FA Cup trophy, because it doesn't. Yeah, it's cool to win a trophy, but it doesn't actually get you anything monetarily or from a business standpoint other than saying, look, we won this trophy. The thing with that is a corporation who's coming in to do a corporate partnership from the continent's going to go, well, cool. Well, what did you do in the Champions League? Even if you're advancing from the group in the Champions League, one, your money rights are going to get better. Even if you get knocked out in the group of 16, your TV rights, the money goes up. You've instantly got that group stage qualification money. So you've got that £36 million, and that was even a couple of years ago, maybe more now. The issue is we've got to focus on what the game is now. And unfortunately, that's not winning trophies for continental success. And it's not. And the quicker that we can get around telling ourselves that that's important, the more the better we'll be. Because yes, it's cool to win a trophy. I will never disagree with that. But the problem is the trophies that you win have to matter. They have to matter. And unfortunately, right now, the League Cup and the FA Cup don't matter. Spanish Copa del Rey does not matter. What matters are your League Cup and Champions League, and to a slight degree, Europa League if you make it far enough. Those are the competitions that matter, and those are the competitions we have to be in if we actually want to be successful in 5, 10, 15 years as a football club. We have to focus on those trophies.
I would slightly preface that by saying, as a fan, I want trophies. As a player,
yeah, but as a fan, I want $10 tickets.
Oh no, I
agree. Fan, I want it doesn't.
I'm merely deciphering the difference between the two.
This is going to be the most crass thing anybody's ever said on a podcast. Fans in football, your opinion doesn't matter.
The FA Cup
to a club, it does not matter. To us, it does. Yeah. To the club, your opinion until you stop buying tickets, your opinion doesn't matter.
Which is exactly what we've said the whole season about these people that think that they can force the manager to leave. Their opinion means nothing.
And I'm not saying that's right.
It's completely wrong.
Correct. Your opinion should matter. If it wasn't for you, but the fact is, people are going to continue to go, and so you've got to find other ways of pushing the needle to get things to change.
A player
Sorry,
is not going to
France.
sign for Arsenal because they've won an FA Cup. However,
Agreed.
as I say, from our standpoint, and I think we all agree, we want, I want the FA Cup more than anything else right now because it's a trophy and it's an opportunity to have
Agreed.
a wonderful
Agreed.
day. And it's another pot, and it's another thing that you can say you've won. And these people that turn around and say, "Oh, well, it's only the FA Cup." Well, I didn't see Manchester United not celebrating the League Cup, and they're not going to not celebrate the Europa Cup because it's a secondary trophy.
I'm buying a bottle of champagne the day we win the FA Cup so I can pour it all over myself. I'm going to waste $15 because we won a trophy. Because I'm a fan, I want us to win things. The problem is that when you take a realistic look, and I will say, Gooner Hawks put a good point that winning the FA Cup gets you into Europa League. It does. The problem is, David, we've already qualified for Europa League practically, so we're sort of already there. For smaller teams, especially you look like what Wigan, probably benefited from it massively, just due to the fact that they were going down, so that's extra game day revenue that they can pull off of for an extra 3 home games. That's massive for a small team like that. And I'm not trying to diminish that at all, but when you're a bigger club like Arsenal, you can't just say that winning the FA Cup is one of your main priorities. Your main priority has to be the league, then it has to be the champions, doing something good in the Champions League, then it has to be qualifying for Champions League, and then you can start to prioritize your domestic cups. And unfortunately, yeah, Danny, it does suck. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It sucks. But that's the state that we're in right now. We can't deny the state. You can't deny people. There are people in America, there are people in England who are very, very left-leaning, and they want to deny the fact that their leadership is very right-leaning. You can't deny it. You just have to try to accept it and figure out what to do best to move on to make the situation better moving forward. That's what we all have to do as fans.
Dom has summed it up perfectly. Winning the FA Cup doesn't help us progress next season. Making the Champions League does. Make of that what you will. It's the truth. And he's 100% right. And you're 100% right, Jason. And I think people are going to listen to this, and I can see people in the chat room now going, "Oh, well, this proves that the American bloke doesn't know shit, blah, blah, blah. Bring back the old crest. Let's go back to
soccer. Soccer."
What Jace is saying, boys and girls who don't agree with him, he's not saying that that's what he wants. He's saying that is what the club looks at, and that's what players look at. And we are not going to sign Kylian Mbappe because we won an FA Cup. We're going to sign a player like that, hopefully, because we have Champions League football and because we're classed as an elite level club.
I will say, those are my priorities because I know that's what's best to get the best players for us. So I have made those my priorities. I still want us to win the FA Cup because it's still prestigious. So you can still say you won a trophy. But you're right. We're not going to sign Kylian Mbappe by saying that we won the FA Cup. No. We're not. And I want us to sign him because Kris has said he's good. I've never seen him play a day in my life.
Yeah, agreed. But
I just follow what Kris says to like it's gospel because he is the football hipster.
Hardly, but just by name, not by realism. But yeah, no, I agree. And again, none of us are saying you should forget your tradition because that's what part of what makes Arsenal what it is, and you can never ever take that. But you have to look at the big picture. Okay, let's have a couple of questions, shall we, to finish off with? Let's see what we've got here. Josh, do you want to help me out with these here? I'm going to ask you one first because you've been very quiet. So you can have JP Jackson's first question if you like. Why don't we see these big scoring performances consistently? Probably because we've not been very good. But what do you reckon, Josh?
I think it's probably more down to the fact that once we know we've actually got a game won, then we'll generally recess into, well, we've done it now, let's drop down the gears and we'll just see the game out. So we'll get 2 goals clear and then we're like, all right, that's it. We're done. I think the way that this game progressed saw us eventually come out with a 3-goal winning margin. Yeah, we scored 4 goals, but I think still it's the case with how the pragmatic way that we deal with it is that, get 2 goals up and then see the game out. They say 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. Well, we'd love to live in that dangerous area because we saw it today. We went 2 goals up and then we just slowly let the pressure come onto us from the help of Mike Dean with some of the decisions he made. And yeah, we conceded. So we went again. and re-established that 2-goal lead. And then we went and hit that again. So we ended up with the 4-goal lead overall, or 3-goal lead, scoring 4 goals. I think it's just something we've seen that's indicative of the Wenger era, really, is we've never blown a team away. We don't look to humiliate teams. We then go on from that. So I think that's what we've really seen. And I think that's also why we've never seen a Pep team destroy an Arsenal team properly. Because he has the same kind of philosophy that he won't kick on. We've seen his Barca team. You've gone, why have they slowed down? Because he does the same thing. He doesn't humiliate a team. He's not about humiliation, where we've seen other teams that will just absolutely destroy them and, you know, smash 8 past a team and go, well, you know, goal difference. And that's, you know, the team was playing well. Whereas Arsenal has always been a bit more pragmatic about it.
A bit more conservative almost, and
yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen it in a long time that we've done that, and
probably since the Invincibles, arguably, since that era where we would just take teams apart. And I remember the game against Leeds at Highbury. I think we were 2 up in early, and we went on and smashed. I think it was 5, and Henri got
like
4
a team.
goals.
If a team's going to roll over for us while we're in second gear, then fine, we'll put 7 past you. But we're not going to play at top gear every, you know, for 90 minutes. We've never done that really properly.
What was the last time we did that? Like probably like true. I remember that RVP game. I think you got a hat trick against Blackburn at home, or
6-1, wasn't it? At home?
No, it was like 7-1, something like that.
The DL7 game.
Yeah, and we just rolled them. Just going, and we're like, we don't care what you think or what should be done. Like, this is best for us, and I don't think we have that mentality.
And it's not saying that you haven't. I mean, Keenan put in the chat there, you know, that. Well, what about the 7-0 against Everton? We're not saying you don't do it, but you're saying that you want to have that. You want to have that crushing mentality that when you have the opportunity to put a team away, you take it. Whereas we often don't, and I think we want to see it more often. Don't we want to see that ruthless streak of just putting a team away, like we did against Man United, the 3-0 last season, wasn't it? Beat them in the first half.
Or Chelsea. In that second half, they didn't play well because they changed to 3 at the back. They went to 3 at the back for damage limitation, and we were also at the same part going, well, we're not really going to attack you because we're 3-0 up. You know, come on to us and we'll just play through you. If we get a goal, we get a goal. I'm thinking the 6-1 against Everton, first game of the season when it was Julian Lescott was on strike. That was the reason why we put 6 past them. We
weren't a good scored team. From 30 yards, didn't he, in that game? I remember that.
One of the greatest players we've ever had. To Nilsson.
The crab.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing you need to have a look at, that we've never really played at 100% for the whole game. I don't expect any team to do that. It's you drop down to second gear, play through it. You know, you go into cruise control and autopilot. You get through the rest of the 90 minutes, and that's it. We've never been that team under Wenger that has put, you know, the knife to someone's throat and said, right, we're going to absolutely destroy you. That's it. That's your team ruined for the next 4 games whilst you try and get over the fact that Arsenal gave you a raping.
we don't... Poor choice of words, but I'm completely with you. We don't, of course, condone on this podcast. Thanks, Josh. I know what you mean,
sorry.
Who was it said that on national? Was it Pardew said that on TV, wasn't it? And he got told off. So, but yes, no, you didn't have to leave the call, Josh. He went away and came back again. But no, I know what you mean. It's that mentality of taking a team apart when you put the foot to the throat, if you will, of a team. So, but yeah, completely agree. Let's have a couple of quick fire questions then, because I'm conscious we've been running for quite a while. This one, actually, I wanted to take Dom's question because it was a good one. The new back 3 system, which players does it make better currently, and which players does it not suit? I think that's a really good point, actually, Dom. I think it's benefited Rob Holding, which we've obviously gone into in great depth today. I think it's given him the opportunity not only just to play, but also to develop his game and get playing experience whilst developing as a player. I think it helps Lauren Koscielny as well, because I think he's looked a lot more comfortable knowing he's got 2 defensive partners. It's hugely helped the midfield. Xhaka has looked more comfortable knowing, sort of a clear defined role rather than having to do 2 or 3 different roles. And I think it will benefit Bellerin in the long run with regards to sort of that system. It suits the the quintessential wing backs. I'm someone that likes to have mirror image wing backs. I like to have either too pace or too conservative. I don't like pace down one side, conservative. I personally don't like that. I think you should go all out or nothing at all, because if someone knows that Bellerin's your pace, they're always going to know you're going to come down the right hand side. I like to have a bit of a mixture, which Monreal offers you. So I think in a way it actually helped Gabriel as well slightly, although I still don't think ultimately his future is going to be with us. But he looks better in a back three. I'll say that much for 1.5 games. So. Yeah, I think it's a good point, Dom. Very good point. Yes or no answer from you both. Would you sign Ross Barkley from no nickname required? Josh?
No.
Jace?
No.
And it's a no from me, so that's good. John Bernstein, Mike Dean and David Pleat were trapped together in a tiger pit. You could save one of them. What resolution would you use on your camera?
I'd save the tiger.
That's superb, by the way.
I would
great.
I would actually use slow motion so I can enjoy it that much longer.
Yeah, I take video, not pictures. I would take video of that. That's David Pleat, who every Danny will like this reference. In the 80s, whenever he came on commentary, the first thing he would always say is, "Evening, everyone." So annoying. So you go back and watch Anfield '89, listen to David Pleat on that. Jesus Christ, painful. This one's from Jeff O'Hara. Did you guys enjoy the overwhelmingly positive atmosphere our away fans provided for the boys? An example. Oh, it's just moved to an example of the people who showed up to the Emirates the last 2 games and Wembley afterwards. This is an excellent question, which I think we might actually finish on, because I was going to bring this up, and I'm very glad that Jeff has highlighted this. Isn't it funny how whether the fan base is divided on a manager or not, isn't it funny how universally they joined together when the Stoke fans started effing and jeffing about Arsene Wenger, and they were saying, "We want you to stay," and the immediate repost, although I think I had the away fans singing it before Stoke fans got off, but they were singing Arsene Wenger, he's won more than you, to the Stoke fans, which I thought was excellent. And there was a real gathering. Again, there seemed to be quite a, I wouldn't say pro the manager, but just pro the club and getting behind the club, and whoever was the manager and whoever was out on the pitch. The away fans I thought were fantastic today, really fantastic, and it was really good to see them all together as one. And a couple of the photos that the players of, say, Mesut Ozil celebration with the fans, the fans were really, really together with the players today, and that's what we're going to need these last 2 games, particularly bear in mind they're both home games now. Everton are no mugs on the last game of the season, and Sunderland have got nothing to play for. So, we need, particularly midweek when it's going to be an under the lights game, we need a big atmosphere for that Sunderland game, and we need to hopefully get an early goal and take them apart. So, as Josh, you pointed out, this could go to goal differences depending on tomorrow's game. So, yeah, I think it's a very good point to highlight that atmosphere, Jeff, and excellent point. Yeah. Any of you guys want to mention the support base before we wrap things up?
Well, I think there's probably a lot of people on other channels that were probably joining in with those Wenger in.
I don't know what you mean, John.
That were probably
allegedly.
Well, no,
I don't know what you mean, fam. Bad blood.
Yeah, I'm probably assuring a lot of characters that
autograph hunting maybe as well.
Were probably joining in with that chant for the greater good of the club. But whatever.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think we've all kind of accepted the fact that Arsenal's probably going to stick around for another season, whether we like it or we don't. And I think, as you said earlier on, Josh, let's just get behind the team now, get to the end of the season, and get sorted out. Mr. Hollick actually has put there was a pro. Oh, interesting. There was a pro Wenger banner which some twat pulled down. Okay, well, I think I speak for everyone here when I say I hope that twat falls over and ends up with his face in dog shit, because whether you're pro or you're against, I don't like the anti banners, but I respect the fact if you're that desperate to hold up a A4 piece of card with Wenger out on it, that's your entitlement to your opinion. But if you're going to do that, you have to let the people who are pro Wenger have their say as well. So amen. And to be honest, I'd rather we just stop with this stupid bloody A4 pads and planes and all this crap. Just support the bloody players. And if you can't get behind Vic Akers' shades on the bench today, I don't know what you can get behind. They were very goose, weren't they?
Out. How we can have a player taken to the field with number 34 in his back is unbelievable.
Outrageous. Yeah, little Vic of the Acres, as Alan Davis would say. Right, okay. I think we're going to leave it there because I say we've gone quite long tonight. But let's be honest, we've got fuck all else to do. There's no football on tonight, so hey ho. But thank you all very much for joining us. Obviously, if you like the show, you were here, so thank you very much. If you like the show and you like what we do, please do give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever you prefer. But yeah, give us a little bit of appreciation. Your kind donation of thumbs up helps us to attempt to change Josh's hair color. So anything that you can do to help that become that reality, then it's good. The other token ginger.
Are you sure that doesn't go into your hair coloring?
No. I saw a few people earlier on saying, "Oh, he's desperate to be Freddy." No, I've had red in my hair for years. It's not a new thing. It does need a top up though. So,
sadly, I can attest to that. Yes, he has had red in his hair for years.
I have.
Well, if we're going to talk about causes anyway, just before we quickly go, I'd like to try and plug the ABW FIFA-thon that I believe both me and Jace are involved in. We're doing it for Macmillan. There is a Twitter account set up and we've been retweeting about it.
Absolutely.
And I believe the pod has been retweeting about it. So if you have a look, for some reason, we're going to spend 24 hours playing FIFA because we haven't got girlfriends. So we thought we'd put it to good use.
Yeah, good.
So if
good on you
guys
guys
would love to put it towards a good cause, the link I'm sure will be tweeted out from the podcast and you can get on board. That would be much appreciated.
Yeah, and also I want to give a little shout to Stefan, who does a lot of work with that that side of things. So Stefan, little nod to you, sir, and indeed for all the other things you do. You know what I mean by that. So yeah, thank you to that, and of course Ellis. It's Ellis, isn't it, Josh? You and Ellis work with Stefan to do that.
Yeah, it's Ellis. That guy.
So, that bloke. So yes, yeah, but great work, guys. We do appreciate it. And obviously, if you've got a couple of quid you can put towards it, then crack on. And we'll be back after the Sunderland game, which did we establish if it was Tuesday or Wednesday? Let's have a little look. It is Tuesday. Okay. So somebody will be here. If I thought it was Wednesday, which I couldn't do. I might be all right to do Tuesday. We shall see. But we'll be back. I think from memory, we've got Kyle Bonner booked for that one. I think I'm right in saying, and plus one or two others. So, yeah, we'll be back for that. And if you liked Sophie the other night, who was on with us after the Southampton game, Sophie will be back as well. She got some great feedback, so we'll have Sophie back as well. But that'll do from us. The only other thing I've got to plug quickly is for all those people. I doubt whether anyone actually remembers anymore, but last summer, when we did the Pirates fundraising page, we had a couple of shirts to give away, and lots of people raised a lot of money for the Pirates, and we hugely appreciate it. We haven't forgotten. We have some shirts to give away. So if you did donate to the Pirates shirts page last season, if you donated to the Mighty Pirates, we have now finished our season. We finished 5th, so thank you, Mr. Gimley, for telling our wonderful guest on the podcast, Luke Kempner on Thursday's podcast, saying they get humped, and not only do they get humped, they lose massive every week. Well, that's rubbish, Gimley. We haven't been that club for at least 3 years now. We're consistently mid-table.
It's because you just play Carpe FC every weekend.
No, that's friendlies. Danny says, don't rope me in. Danny, you're responsible as anyone, and you know it. Anyway, if you did donate to the Pirates, thank you, first of all. You helped us stay alive for another season. And those shirts, the Podolski shirt, the Kazula shirt, and the Rosicki shirt, I think it was, they will be given away. Next time I'm on a podcast, on the Thursday, the main podcast, Danny and I will endeavour to do it. It might be the extras, perhaps. We'll work on that. But stay tuned. If you donated to the Pirates page, you still have a chance to win a shirt. Okay, so there we go. There's a plug. Right, thank you very much to my cohorts this evening, to Jason and to Josh. Thank you, gentlemen.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thanking you. And if you like Josh, you can hear from him more, along with myself, on the Hipsters Pod as well. Hit a little subscribe to a bergkamp-wonderland. Hit a subscribe down there. And if you like what we do, maybe give us a go on the Football Hipsters subscription page on YouTube as well. So until then, my thanks to the crew. Thank you to Danny, as usual, and indeed to Dom and Jason, who've been in the chat box moderating this evening. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be back after the Sunderland game. We're all off to support West Ham. And until next time, it's a very big Lanzini from me to you. This has been ABW Radio. We'll speak to you very soon.
Lanzini.
Lanzini.
You're the biggest